What would we do without documentary fans, right? It's wonderful, and I welcome you to the most anticipated evening of the festival, the Pennebaker Award Gala. It is a special event when many of the documentary community, and they are here, lots of documentary filmmakers, come together to honor a filmmaker's outstanding body of work. Tonight, as you know, we are celebrating Alan Berliner. Alan's films are always personal, often using his own life to encourage viewers to think about their own lives. It's a nice switch. Chris Hedges, part of the pioneering and esteemed team of Pennebaker Hedges, will introduce Alan and tell you about his decades-long contributions to the nonfiction genre and to all of his contributions and all of the contributions to us. We are so lucky to have documentary filmmakers like that. So let me introduce Chris Hedges.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. It's nice to see everyone again, and so many of my friends, family even here as well, and to celebrate Alan. I started my film career as an experimental filmmaker, as did Pennebaker, so Alan has always seemed like a kindred spirit to me. But honestly, he's so much braver than I ever was, and his experimental documentaries, as he calls them, are deeply personal, intimate stories where he's both the director and he's the subject in the film, which I could never do. They're witty, sensitive, and entertaining, and they're deep. They pose existential questions in search of larger truths. His film, First Cousin Once Removed, Alan follows his mother's cousin, the poet and translator Edwin Honig. He was a mentor to Alan and was in the late stages of Alzheimer's. As we drift through the years with Alan during his visits to Edwin, the film becomes a poignant essay on memory, aging, love, and connection. It asks us who we really are, and it's a question that Alan returns to again and again in exploring his own identity. In Intimate Strangers, Alan tries to unravel the mysteries of his elusive grandfather, digging into family secrets to ultimately understand his family's roots. Closer to home is his film Nobody's Business. Here we find Alan pushing his very stubborn dad to talk about his childhood. With humor and determination, Alan probes the bond that binds their very complicated father-son relationship. Despite all the sparring, the film is full of affection, and I guess you could ultimately say it's some expression of love. Alan's most intimate film is one that I can definitely relate to, and maybe many of you can too, called Wide Awake. And as a lifelong insomniac, Alan takes us on a journey that's equal parts hilarious and insightful. The film expands the boundaries of documentary filmmaking. Then there's Alan's tour de force, Letter to the Editor. It's composed entirely, love this film, entirely of photographs he clipped from the New York Times starting in the 1980s. The result is an exhilarating collage of dramatic world events to everyday human moments. As Alan mourns the loss of the printed newspaper, he also warns us about a future with fake news. The film is a lament on time passing and really a stunning example of Alan's creative genius. And if that weren't enough, some of you may remember Alan's art exhibition at the Sag Harbor Cinema. His sculptures made from film reels and his wonderfully invented sound installation. Alan's photographic, audio, and video work has been shown around the world. Tonight's film about his friend Benita is yet another example of Alan's gift, telling stories about our fragility, our mortality, and what makes a meaningful life. Like all his films, it's funny, wise, provocative, and incredibly moving. It's truly my pleasure, along with Fraser Pennebaker, who's here in the audience tonight, to present this year's Pennebaker Award to my friend Alan Berliner.
Alan, will you please come down, join us?
First of all, Chris, heartfelt thanks for your very kind introduction. I really appreciate it. I want to thank you. I want to thank the Pennebaker family, Regina K. Scully, the Artemis Rising Foundation, and of course Hamptons Doc Fest for this profound honor. I am thrilled and humbled to be included amongst the group of filmmakers who share the unique distinction of being associated and uplifted by the grace and good vibes of Penny's name, his accomplishments, his independence, daring, inventiveness, gentle bearing, and the legacy of his will do, can do, and nothing will ever stop me from doing whatever it takes to make my films. Penny was the proverbial man with a movie camera. By contrast, my films often make use of archives and are always grounded in editing. So when the Punta de Vista Film Festival in Spain published a book about my work back in 2002, they titled it The Man Without the Movie Camera. Penny and I may have been situated on different sides of the camera splicer divide, but he, his work, and the way he and Chris went about it have always been a source of inspiration for me. I know Amy, Hobby, and I are going to sit down and talk in a few minutes following the clip reel. But I'd like to share a few stories about my relationship to editing with you, stories that took place long before I ever became a filmmaker. 1. When I was about 10 years old, my grandfather, who worked for a large international trading company, used to bring me packages filled with postage stamps removed from the upper right corners of airmail envelopes given to him by his office colleagues, who knew they were contributing to a young boy's burgeoning international stamp collection. Or now, when I look back upon it, helping me create my very first archive. The thing is, no one ever taught me how to have a stamp collection. So instead of putting them in stamp albums, my instinct was to organize them by color, theme, and shape. Some of my favorite stamps at that time were circles and triangles. I had categories with titles like presidents, fish, flowers, and landscape. And as you'll see in the clip reel that will follow my words, I pretty much do the same thing with sounds and images to this day. When I was 13 years old, I was taught the proper way to write term papers for school. But somehow those traditional methods never quite worked out for me. And so once again, I relied on my instincts. I would sit at my desk, write all of my thoughts, ideas, and research out in longhand, then grab a scissor, some Scotch tape, a fresh pad of paper, a pen, my books, and then go to the longest corridor in my house, turn on the light, get on my hands and knees, and begin to edit. I would organize my thoughts by cutting out paragraphs or sections of my writing with scissors, and then use the Scotch tape to assemble those pieces of paper in order, taping, untaping, retaping paragraphs and sections as I went along. If I needed to rewrite something or generate new material like a quote, I would write it out on paper, cut it out with scissors, and then Scotch tape it in place. When all was said and done, I would end up with a paper scroll, 10 or 15 feet long. You filmmakers in the room might call it a work print or a rough cut, which I would roll up and secure with a rubber band. That corridor in my house became my editing room for as long as it took, and I would wind and unwind my scroll across the floor to continue making additions and corrections, crawling back and forth, up and down the hallway, until it was ready to be typed up. And finally, when I was 17 years old and a sophomore in college, I made my very first tape splice, connecting two pieces of 16mm film together. The first shot was of a car entering the frame from left to right, covering a white line on the street as it stopped at a traffic light. The second shot was of that same white line, only this time without the car. When I ran it through the Steenbeck editing machine for the first time, my splice had made the car disappear. I remember standing there thinking how magical that was. how exciting that was. And a part of me knew I wanted to do a lot more of it in the future. So here we are. Thank you. Thank you. You see these boxes behind me? The red boxes, they are black and white film. Old newsreels, educational films, things I got from the National Archives. The orange boxes are sound effects. Footsteps on brush, cement, dirt, grass, gravel, ground, interior, snow, water. When you surround yourself with so much stuff, you have to be extremely organized. I need an image, I know where it is. I need a sound. That's the whole point, to be able to act at the speed of thought. Every time I get an idea, I write it down on a small piece of paper. After I act on it, I put it on one of these things you see in Chinese restaurants. Someone in the audience is watching right now and saying, why am I here watching this film about this guy?
I would ask too, because I don't know what the hell they're doing there. I'm being honest with you.
You should be honored.
I'm not. You know, it's ridiculous.
Your life not only can be
My life is nothing.
You're my father. I have to do it. I need to do it.
You don't have to do it.
I have to do it.
Alan, you're going to do what you want to do, whether I want you to do it or don't want you to do it. I'm telling you, you're wasting your time. Shit.
What's the matter?
Nothing. What happens now?
I think he liked being liked. He loved being liked. And he tried as much as he could to ingratiate himself to people.
And anybody that came, whether it was a shoeshine boy or a diplomat or a banker, always came to this country. They contacted my father, Joseph Casuto.
His business was having people like him. I never met anybody who disliked him, other than the immediate family.
As soon as I picked up on what was going on in between my parents, I fixated on that. That's why I'd stay up in the middle of the night to watch you, to listen, to do. I watched everything.
For 17 years, I put on a great show.
Well, I watched the performance that you were happily married to him.
I had to.
A mirror. I am a mirror. The camera has come back to me. Hello? 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 Hello?
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
You be camera and I'll be all.
I'm interested in your experience. What it's like to be you right now.
Something was killed off.
What was killed off?
What's the word? Memory.
Every image in this film comes from a daily printed edition of the New York Times. And it's hard not to notice that the same objects are used in very different ways in different parts of the world.
I always felt that with your intelligence, with your brains, you could have been an accountant, you could have been a lawyer, you could have been an engineer, you could have been any one of the professions. You chose this. In my opinion, you are absolutely wasting your God-given talents.
Well, we only have like 20, 25 minutes, I'm told, so why don't we start? I have a few questions for you. One thing I wanted to start sort of big. You know, every documentary that we make, I'm a documentary producer, and every documentary we make is a big leap of faith, right? So we have an idea, we think about stories, we toss away stories. How do you decide and go about the process from a hunch, an idea, a conversation, to landing the plane at the New York Film Festival or something?
I never know what film I'm going to make after I finish the next one. I just finished this film, Benita, we're going to see. I have no idea what comes next. It might take me a year.
Really?
I don't put pressure on myself. I'm not comparing myself to other filmmakers, but I never have, we'll call it like a business model or something. I don't have a stove with 6 plates, and I can't say I'm shooting this one, I'm editing this one, I'm in post-production. I mean, I have a hot plate.
Yeah.
I work on one film at a time, totally monogamous, that's it.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Well, what can I say? And also, just so you know, the films I choose to make are not exactly, I wouldn't describe them as great career moves, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but simply put, in order for me to commit to something, there are usually 2 criteria. One, it has to be something that's fascinating to me. You know, that's something, because it takes me years to make my films.
Yeah.
And I enter a universe
Yeah.
of whatever it is. So there has to be that. But then, more than anything, there has to be need. There has to be a kind of inner urgency that compels me, compels me is the word, that I'm magnetized to because I need to do it.
Yeah.
And so every film, and I would just say, every film I've ever made, I'm happy to say, has been a labor of love.
That's amazing. And there's not a ton of filmmakers that can say that, so. Okay, so I have another question. You were talking about editing, and I work with a lot of directors, and the editors are always, a storytelling partner, a really good storytelling partner, a big part of that process. I do work with some directors who also edit, which I don't think you are. I think I would describe you differently, but directors who edit, and then generally they bring in someone, for the finish line or whatever. But you are equally editor, director, subject, sometimes DP even. Yeah. How do you think that's influenced your style generally? And do you ever have this myopic sense? Do you ever have an urge to have another editor come in, or?
First of all, again, I'm not comparing myself to anyone.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just, and of the list of things that I do, the one thing I would never give up, is editing.
Yeah.
Like, someone can shoot for me, but no, I would never. It's just too much fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy it too much fun, and that's all. That would never happen. Never considered it even.
And do you find a lot of your films have a sense to me of serendipity and humor and juxtaposition, and it feels like you're in that moment. I get the sense that you enjoy the process.
Oh, well, of course, but it's incredibly arduous too. They age me and they, yeah. But I just another way of answering your question, thank you for the question, is that I came of age and grew, evolved, I'm still evolving, of course, as a filmmaker, which is to say, I make films. If I didn't have to put credits, and I'd rather not even, it would just say a film by, and my name, simply put. Yeah. Because I just do what it takes to make the film.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just do whatever it takes. Yeah. It takes years, it means it's extra time.
Yeah.
But it's just, I love the process of discovery, And to me, if I just expand just a little bit, there's no director part of me, there's no producer part of me, there's no editor part of me, there's no writer part of me,
Just you.
Yeah, whatever the film needs, I do.
Yeah.
And there's no order, people say, do you write first, do you cut? I don't know, there's no chicken and egg stuff in my process. But it is a process, and I'm comfortable there. I like getting lost in the process, and Yeah, but you know, I'm getting older now. It's harder.
Yeah.
It's harder. But I love what I do, so I'm not going to stop.
That's awesome. I love what I do too. I appreciate that. I'm going to ask you, we're going to have a short Q&A after the film. I know it's going to be late, but I do want to talk about one small thing about Benita, which you're about to see. Oh no, maybe I can't do that. It's going to reveal something. Okay, never mind. I'm going to move on. I don't want to spoil it. This sort of relates to this, but I'll put it in a broader sense. Like when you're making personal films, you're often asking very hard questions, right? Very personal and very hard questions. Do you? It seems so brave to me, like the questions that you're asking. Like, are you afraid? Like, how do you deal with that? Do you have, when you show the films to subjects, like, has there ever been any, pushback? Like, how do you ask those brave questions?
First of all, if I can just tie back to your first question.
Yeah.
The first question you asked about the leap of faith.
Yeah.
Okay. When it feels right that I'm going to make a film about my grandfather or my father, I'm just about, let's say, the portraits that I've made, grandfather, father, cousin, even Benita, the film we're going to show in a moment. I never know what's going to happen. I never know what I'm going to discover. I'm very comfortable, actually, that filmmaking is a journey, with the idea that filmmaking is a journey. And I can start out here and end up some other place through the process, So I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But what ties them all together is that I'm making a film about the meaning of a life lived. In the case of these portraits, it's about the meaning of a life lived. And I'm trying to do so in a way that the screen that the film is projected on, that white surface, functions in two ways. With every film I've ever made, functions in two ways. It's both a window and a mirror. Mm-hmm. The window is that you as viewer are looking out on my life, my family, my cousin, the subject of memory. I mean, I like to think that the films are layered in subtext and, like a Trojan horse. Once you get inside, there are a lot of layers of things. And so that's the window, You're learning about the meaning of a life lived, what a person's life can teach us. But it's the mirror part that's tricky-er.
Yeah.
And I want the screen to zap the viewer with what I refer to as a warm shock of recognition, in which you recognize a part of yourself, or your story, or your family, or your set of issues, or your memory, or the lack of, did I say, or your family? I mean, yeah, I'm just saying. So so it can be a mirror and a window. The best films do it simultaneously.
Yeah.
But however it functions, that's sort of the flipping of those things is what I'm always aiming for.
I see that in the films. Like, there's a moment, and you allow the audience to make that connection a lot. You're not really hammering it home, right? Like,
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I get to put it together for myself, right?
Right. That's what I hope. And if I could just build on that for a second, it's very important for me as a storyteller and a filmmaker that I have a kind of contract with the viewer. Mm-hmm. We have that you trust me. Yeah. I'm asking you, even in this film Benita that you're going to see, I'm asking you to do a kind of lot of work, to listen to every word, to read every word. There's a lot, it's demanding. The works are demanding, the films are demanding. But I'd like to think that I've earned your that I'm, from the moment the film begins, that I'm earning your trust.
Yeah.
That I'm earning what it takes I'm earning your participation in completing the story, in giving the story meaning in that mirror window way.
Yeah.
And that implicitly there's a contract. I'm not interested, I don't want to confuse anyone, that it's about us.
Yeah.
You know, I'm showing you a film about this woman, Benita Rafan, and she has something who took her life. I guess I'm introducing the film somehow, but you know, who took her life by suicide. Okay, but there's something in Benita's story for each of us, on some level, in some way.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't quite know what all of those things would be when I started, because I made some discoveries along the way, and you know, the more I dug into the material, I spent a year looking through Benita's archive, you know,
That's a
and
lot.
I learned things
Yeah.
and so forth, and but it's the trust. It's the trust.
I think that's so important in the time that we're living now, that you're making these films, because there is a sort of cultural flattening happening, and to have films and to be able to come into a space and watch films with other people that let you think and wander and make connections yourself. It's my great hope that that will become treasured again more and more. So I really love this work so much and what you're doing. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
How do you decide, back to the editing idea, how do you decide when you're done? So without giving anything away about Benita, you went through 40 hard drives. You were entrusted with this huge archive and someone's life and journals and everything. And so how do you know when you're done?
That question is a little bit. I can be very obsessive, so you'll see. So that question is a little bit of the bane of my life, because in some way I'm never done. Every film I've ever made, if you gave me an hour or a week, you know, I know what I would do to make it better. It's just the way it is.
Are you still working on Benita?
No,
Is this a work in progress?
no, but if I did have a day, I know what I'd do to make it better. There's no question. Yeah. So, you know, at a certain point, processes. I'm very involved. I believe in process a lot.
Yeah.
I trust my process.
Yeah.
And I've learned its contours. You know, and so at a certain point, the film ripens enough. Then maybe there are some festival deadlines that line up.
Yeah.
You know, that I feel that I can.
The filmmakers in here know that.
Yeah. You know, I feel I can align my process with that. But I mean, just anecdotally, for instance, I made this film about my father, Nobody's Business, right?
Yeah.
And it was invited to the New York Film Festival.
Yeah.
And it was invited, I think it was submitted, and by the way, I was a lot younger then, so
Yeah.
I don't, anyway, you'll understand why I bring that up. It was submitted maybe in mid-July,
Yeah.
and maybe it was invited in mid-August, but it didn't screen till mid-October, October
Yeah.
8th that year.
Yeah.
Believe me when I tell you, when I submitted it on July 15th, I never stopped working on it full speed, fifth gear, until like the last possible day, like a week
Did you
before.
walk the print over to Lincoln Center?
Just about, you know. And I told Richard Pena, who was the head of the New York Film Festival, you know, if you liked it then, I'd like to think you're going to like it more now, but...
They could screen it next year, too.
Huh?
You'd be like, let's screen
Anyway, so... Yeah, I can't help myself, actually. But
okay, we have to wrap up shortly, so I'm going to ask one more question, which is of interest to me. All of them are. In terms of your style and evolving style, you know, with sound effects, installations, how are you continuing to push yourself? Like how did Benita push beyond your previous work? How are you thinking? Do you think about that, or have you been drawing? You know.
I'd like to think that every film I make is in response to the demands of the story. I'm open to where the process takes me in terms of my discoveries throughout the course of making. I do have some, how should we say, sound image predilections, you know, a language, a lexicon that I use, and you know, I try not to overuse them from film to film, but they pop up. And I want every film to be its own unique thing. I think Benita is a departure for me on some levels, but I also think it's very much also down, you know, right in the middle of the path of my work for decades. And I like, you know, the confluence of those places. You know, wherever I go, whatever next film, if I'm lucky enough to make another film, I hope I can say the same thing.
Yeah, that's terrific. Well, you guys are in for a huge treat. I've seen the film twice. I love it. And we'll be here for a brief, it'll be late, but we want to do a brief Q&A so people can ask some questions about the film. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Welcome back. Hi, everyone. Did you guys like the film? Oh, please. So I'm going to kick it off with a question, then I'll hand it over to you guys. What's super interesting to me about the film is, so I produced a film about Spalding Gray, Sag Harbor resident. And when we were pitching and fundraising for the film, people would ask, why did he kill himself? And in particular, we had a meeting at HBO with a fellow board member, and the first thing is she's like, why did he kill himself? And I very much appreciate that you addressed that right at the top of the film. We did not do that, ultimately. Can you talk about your reasoning for that?
Well, for those of you who had a friend, loved one, family member take their life, there's always grief and regret. But and then after you get over the what, when, why, and how, which can take a long time, you know, then you wonder, could I have said something differently? Could I have done something differently? And so the short answer is I wanted to get Benita's suicide, the fact of her suicide, and even how she did it, I wanted to get it out of the way. I didn't want it to linger as a, you know, the film is, I'm trying to get at a whole range of deep things, and I didn't want that to be the normal, the natural set of questions that people are going to have, and I didn't want that to cloud the storytelling.
I thought it was genius, actually.
Well,
but also, it was a tough question to ask the mother, like, where, right? And these are the things that I think people you kind of want to know, right?
Well, the other thing is that the family didn't tell the New York Times or ask the New York Times not to reveal that she took her life, okay? And you know, the truth is, many of the people who I interviewed for the film thought she died because she died during COVID. They thought she died of COVID.
Right.
So in many cases, I'm telling them the truth.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, this man, Hayes Greenfield, he's one of the composers near the beginning. He's the one, and it was very interesting because he gives the revelation, if you will, of how she did it, a kind of tenderness, because he asked the question.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that.
How did she, you know, how did she do it? Who found her?
Yeah.
You know, he asked, not me. And so I allow him to, in his very tender way, I allow him to.
It was very human and well done, yeah.
I mean, it's the most human thing of all. Yeah. And I'll just say this, you know, obviously when I found the piece of Benita's, on one of her hard drives, the fact that she was changing the film, the subject of her film, that obviously changed. I mean, again, you asked in your first question, you asked about leap of faith.
Yeah.
I began the film without knowing that even existed.
Yeah.
I knew nothing, right? I knew nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, she took her life. That's
like
all I knew.
It was an instinct somehow, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Maybe.
And so when I found it, that changed everything.
Yeah.
You know, but and it gave me. I realized I told the family I couldn't finish Benita's film for her. I mean, nobody could.
Yeah.
But in the end, I finished. I don't know if finished is the right word, but I'd like to think I expanded upon both the canine cognition film and
The
Benita's
condition film.
the film that Benita was at least had the ideation to do upon her death.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's the whole storytelling thing. I'm sorry, just real quick.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of regrets, I was her mentor, creative advisor, and so I knew enough. I knew some, but I didn't know everything, of course. And so that one of the ideas is that in every film I've ever made, that's the fourth portrait I've made. Initially, I always think, incorrectly, very much so, that it's about the person. It's about my grandfather. It's about my father. It's about It's about Benita. But it's always about the relationship, you know. And I thought about that mentoring thing, and I thought, you know, all the while I knew Benita, mentoring is much more than just giving her notes on a film. You know, change that shot. You could restructure the sort of notes that filmmakers give one another.
Yeah.
Mentoring is like, amongst many other things, mentoring is allowing them to trust their process, to learn about their process, to believe in it. There's a hint of confidence and strength that you're trying to build, you know? Yeah. And so that was a big dimension of my relationship with her. And I thought, did I fail her?
Yeah.
You know? And so, yeah, you know, when you learn someone's taken their life, there's always like the grip of personal responsibility somehow. Anyway, I'm sorry for the long answer.
No. I'd like to open it up to questions. We're going to have a few minutes of questions in the front.
Is there something that you want us to know about you or your process that we can possibly ask you? Oh,
yeah.
Did you ever
We
hear
heard that.
that?
We heard that.
Okay.
Can you translate that question for me?
Well, she wants to know something about your process that can,
That somebody doesn't already know about you.
She wants to know some secret surprise.
There's not
about
a
your
question
process
that we would know to ask, you know?
I mean, if I'm saying the same thing in a different way, or if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. I love filmmaking, okay? I love, as hard as it is, I always want to be doing the most challenging thing I could possibly do, okay? When you make films about the meaning of a life lived, you know, this film was a very, very delicate journey, you know, a lot of delicate parts, and I work on my films every day, 7 days a week, you know? I believe in process, you know? I'm obsessive, okay? But I've turned obsession, which I now look at differently because of what Benita's taught me about our challenges and our struggles make us who we are, you know? And I realized, let's forget the word obsession. I've turned that O word into several words that begin with P, you know, persistence and patience and passion and process, you know, and
You wouldn't get these films done without all this, you know? It's all positive to me.
Well,
I'd like to see another question because they're gonna cut us off.
Kick us out soon.
Yeah.
Alan, I was just curious, do you still... Wait for the mic. I'm sorry. I happened to make a film about suicide and got to interview a lot of men and women who tried suicide and did not succeed. Yeah. And every one of them answered me when I said, is there anything anybody could have done, should have done, that would have changed your mind? And they said, ultimately, no. It was a decision that was needed at that time. Do you still struggle with her existence and why she did this, or have you come to peace with what you think you've learned?
I mean, it's not for me to be at peace, to be honest with you, or not at peace. I made the film. I went as deep as I could possibly go. You know, when I'm looking at when I'm talking with Benita's mother about Benita for the first time I met her, and she begins by saying that, you know, at 4 years of age, Benita was a very complicated child. That tells you that Benita was struggling from very early on, you know. So, and also I didn't see all the hints in Benita's films along the way. She was telling us a lot about herself through the work that she was making, the work that she made, you know. And, you know, I mean, I now look at people differently. I look at artists' work differently. You know, we see the work people make, but we're not always attuned to what it takes to make that work, what's behind that, what's being overcome, what obstacles, what struggles, what challenges. You know, Benita taught me that, and about the world, you know, but also about her life as well.
Okay, we have one or two more questions. Good question, good question. Ah! Hey.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Alan. I know we haven't seen each other in a long time. Cynthia formerly.
I know. Yeah.
With POV. I am astounded. I do think life takes us in a circle. I've been dealing with the family because now I'm the CEO at NIWEFT, and the family, they're doing a scholarship, an animation scholarship. So I wanted to see the film on the big screen, but had no idea that the family that I was dealing with was her family, because they've never said anything about her other than, Cynthia, we want to do a scholarship because our daughter, it was the mom, has passed. And when I asked how and when, she didn't want to go into any of that. And then I had them send me as much material as possible. But this introduced me to Benita, and our scholarship program will be very different as a consequence of your work. So I just want to say thank you very much.
Oh my God, thank you.
And then I also want to say
Thank you for doing this, facilitating the scholarship.
Yep. And I also wanted to ask, has the family seen the film?
Yes, they've seen it twice. Yeah. I will say this. This is a subject for another day. I've made films about, again, family members, portraits, etc. I never show my films to the people who are in them. Okay, that's a long answer. It's not for today. But it was really important to me that Benita's family, and we're talking about her mother and her sister, got to see the film in an with a room full of people. That was all I cared about, was that, because I wanted them to see, to understand, but I guess to feel that Benita no longer belongs to them, no longer belongs to me, but Benita now is part of a broader conversation.
Yeah.
They had to see that, you know. If you will, if I can quote from Benita's film about Buckminster Fuller, you know, Benita now belongs to universe, you know. That's why I used that line, and I wanted them to feel that. And I passed. You know, they were cool with it. They came to see it a second time, and that was profoundly, profoundly meaningful to me.
And you may have said it, Amy, before I came in, but the film is being considered is doing its Oscar run, right?
Yeah.
And so I just would encourage everyone to really support.
Give her a microphone. No one's...
Yeah, everyone consider this film. All you Academy voters here.
Thank you.
I see one or two. One last very good question.
Don't put the pressure on it.
Come on. Or it could just be any question. Don't make, I'm going to ask a question about dogs. If you don't. I love dogs.
Alan, thank you for this film. It's the first time I'm seeing it, and it moved to me like a poem. And I
Thank you.
wanted to know how you created the narrative of it.
That's a great question, but that's like an hour-long thing. Thank you for the comment. Thank you for the question. I don't want to be flip about it. Benita was an artist, and I wanted to honor her work, the poesy in her work. I really mean this, what I'm about to say, that I really felt her in the room when I'm making the film, was like channeling her. So a lot of decisions that I made were somehow with her spirit in the air, And listen, I read every word that Benita wrote. I looked at there were, in these hard drives, there were folders with 8,000 photographs with numbers for names. Lots of them, hundreds of them. I'm not joking. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scream. And so, I wish it started with P, but there's a kind of love in that. Yeah. Back to the P words. I'm just saying, and so,
but there's also a duty there, right?
Responsibility.
Yeah, responsibility.
Yeah. And that's what I do. There's no other, I don't know how else to say it. That's what I do, and it's what I love doing, I don't know if that's an answer to your question. Yeah.
I think we'll have to save it for that long
Sure,
period.
forgive me.
Thank you guys for coming. We have to wrap it up.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I loved speaking with you. It was really amazing. And spread the word about the film, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.